Call you Reverend such and such.
Reverend such and such.
And
But
God,
that's all I hear when I used to go to the black churches.
and God said,
I don't.
"Who's at my door? Is that Jesus?" And
Exactly,
and
and that's why
mine,
I need church because
right? But
I can't do it.
see, and that's what I'm saying. It's when I was saying me, why you need church, but everybody might not need it. That's what I was saying. That
And
was
then
my whole thing. Everybody does, because for me, I wouldn't mind. I don't mind going every now and again, but I don't need to go to church to find my. If I was lost, like if I'm lost, then maybe. But if I don't have a clear understanding, then maybe. But I have a clear understanding of my personal. Now I don't have an understanding of your relationship with the Creator, but or my sons, or my wife's, or my daughters, or my mama's. I don't have anybody's. I don't have an understanding for
of
anybody's
course, yeah,
relationship with God other than me.
yeah. Because guess
And
what? You were
and
born here.
nobody's gonna get help me with that relationship but me, because I have to take the time and the effort to go establish that relationship with the Creator. I
Yeah,
could
that's
go,
and that's
going to church doesn't do that, because it's a bunch of people. It's a lot of devils in the church.
and what's funny is the church is made for broken people. People put a pedestal on a pastor
And you're
or a
not supposed to
preacher,
worship an idol.
and you you're not supposed to worship a man, an idol. It's people put a this stigma on what Christ is about, and it's leaked into the church.
Yeah,
It's
and but
leaked
they
into the
but
church.
that's why you see they make these pastors are superstars. Clefro Dollar running around in Atlanta with a damn Rolls Royce with Dollar on the back of the license plate. Talk about he need these private jets and all this to go do.
And I don't agree with that. I don't agree with.
Because most back, if I'm not mistaken, evangelists back in the day didn't want for money. Back in the Bible times, they just went around preaching the gospel to folks and helping,
And they got and people gave them offerings. God
offering.
talks about giving more than anything. Like
But
you're
but
supposed to give than you more than you receive.
and he said you're supposed to sacrifice. You're supposed to sacrifice. The only thing that we can sacrifice, the only thing that is really a sacrifice for us is time. So that's
Okay.
what God wants. He wants you to
But you
give
can sacrifice
time.
other things too. You can
What I'm saying
sacrifice
is,
your money.
yeah, but that's not the you get more money. The time, like right now,
Right.
this time we gave talking, we're not getting none of this time back.
Nah.
That's the biggest sacrifice. That's why you know, oh, I gotta go. It's the biggest sacrifice that you have.
But we used our time, our currency, time in the right way. I think you know what I'm saying?
Right, but that's what it's about. It's about using your time in the right way. It's about being compassionate. It's about helping people that want help, that want to help themselves, not just giving handouts. It's about helping
No.
those that want to be helped. So that's why I say,
I don't talk about handouts.
no, no, I understand that. I'm just
Okay.
giving you my general how I
Right.
feel. I'm never when I'm saying when I'm talking, I'm not trying to contradict you. I'm not trying to be contrary to you. I'm just telling you how I feel. And it's
Right.
just on a different, we just on different aspects, you know. And plus you grew up in the church. You knew from little, you grew up. Now, if I grew up in the church, I might have a different viewpoint on this,
Of course. Yeah. And
you
that's
know.
and it goes back to the family and what God talks about when you're bringing children up, when you want to, you know, establish a family and how you can keep them in Christ. It's funny that you say that because there's a story in the Bible that talks about it's a parable of the lost son. You ever heard that?
No, I haven't heard that one yet. I
So
may have to go
okay,
read it. What do you know where it's
it's
at? Oh,
Mark.
I'll
It,
Google it. It's called Parable of the Lost Son.
Parable of the lost son, and is the parable is a parable of how God treats us or how He looks on us. So when that right there touched me more than any other verse because it talks about the compassion of the father when his son was gone, spending money, and um, well, quick thing because it's 11:01. But with in that story, it talks about how a rich man and he had like two sons. One went off and did his own thing, spent all the money, and was asking for money, just being in the streets, basically up
Mhm.
in the streets,
Out in
but
these streets.
out in them streets. But he lost all his he lost all the money, and he was just beaten and battered, right?
Hmm.
So he decides to come home. He's ashamed of coming back home. And so when he gets home, he's walking back home and his father sees him and they meet up. And the dude was like, "Look, I don't even deserve to be your son. I want to just come in the house, but you can take the title of me being your son out. Let me be a servant to the house. Just give me the lowest of the low just to get back in the crib." The father was like, "You know what? Nah." And he called back and he was like, get my son a new robe, new shoes, and clean him up. I love this. I love my son. Just bring him back. It don't even matter what his past, what he did, bring him back in this house. And it was that point that showed the love and compassion and the humility towards his son. And still, after being out there muddy, dirt, spending money, using his father, doing wrong by his family, still being accepted in,
Hmm.
that is the parable of how God treats us when we come back to him. Like if we go out and we just being rebellious, God don't leave. If we come back, he's still there. That story like brings me to a point where it's just like, you know what, I want that type of love from someone or my father. If doing wrong by my selfish ways, I think that right there just sums it up for me. That brings me to a point where I'm like, you know what, yeah, like I I want that love, that compassion.
And
um
I see, and I get that, but I get it to an extent. It's only so much compassion I'm going to have for you.
and that is what needs to break through, bro. But
No,
it's funny because
here's
I
why.
like
Here's
it.
why. Here's why. You got to realize this. Here's why. All right. If I keep letting you, if you for instance, right, I let you in my house,
Right.
you steal from me. We
Some
talk about it.
crackers and cheese.
You just steal, whatever the case may be. It's people. You steal. I let you back in my house. You steal again. I ain't letting you back in after the second time. You done because I expect you to steal.
Hmm. Yeah, that's tough, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hey, I feel the same way.
So
I
it's
feel
only
I
so I think because it's only
Not
so
to be
much
contradictive
before
about what I
you.
just
Yeah,
said.
yeah. No, but it's only. I'm just saying. I get what you're saying. If somebody, what it's saying is, you shouldn't just condemn somebody for messing up the first time. Like he went out there, he messed up, he came back, showed humility. That's like this. If you mess up, right, you stole something from me, you come back. Look, man, I was going through something, and you change, and I let you back in, and you don't do nothing. That's cool. But me before, if you steal from me the first time, you ain't getting back in. So I had to learn that compassion. So that's what I'm saying. I understand what you're saying. I had to learn to be like, okay, people make mistakes. I need to see if they can learn from their mistakes.
Well, yeah,
You see what I'm saying? And be
yeah,
better. But if you keep making the same mistake, that means you don't really care about what you're doing. You don't.
yeah.
So I gotta learn. All right, you can't come in the house. That don't mean I don't love you, and I ain't gonna hang with you. I ain't gonna come to your house. You just can't come in mine.
I can totally agree with that. But one thing that we have to remember is when we ask for forgiveness from people, we don't have to. When someone asks for our forgiveness from doing us wrong, and we decide to accept their forgiveness and forgive them and all that stuff, we don't have to. God doesn't require us to bring them back in our life. That story right there is a parable of God's love. Like God loves us. The compassion level is goes beyond our human thought, because life is crazy. The devil is really out here in these streets.
Of course,
So we deal
it's
with
definitely
these.
evil out there.
Yeah, we deal with stuff every day. Small that can be so big in our heart, or big that can be so small to us. But you know, with our with with our expertise, if it's in a subject that where we can help, we if we put ourselves out there to show compassion to something that is so big but small to us, if we're able to make a difference on a level, then I think that we are required that we should be required in our own hearts, not anything else, but in our own hearts to make a difference, to give ourselves. That's the story of Noah.
Hmm.
No, Jonah and the whale. A lot of people don't know that story for real.
Yeah, I'm
It
not. I've heard of it, but I'm not familiar
it's
with
like a
the.
kid story. They talked to it about it, but it was deeper than that. See, Jonah
Uh-huh.
was actually he was a God fearing man, but God told him he needed to go to a city to preach. But
Hmm.
he was rebellious. He said, "Nah, I ain't doing this, God. Those people over there were crap. They stink. I'm not going. I'm not doing that." So through that rebellion, God basically punished him through the whale. He was swallowed up by the whale for 3 days, right?
Hmm.
How back in the day? I don't know. But
That's what I'm saying. And you know what it is? I think, but I'm gonna let you finish. I think I take some. I tell you, I look at things literally.
right.
So, and I'm thinking things logically. So sometimes when people try to pass off the Bible, some of those stories, I think are just people made those stories up to show how to show compassion and to overcome hardships. But when people try to make them like they're literally, like this dude literally got swallowed by a whale and was in there for 3 days and then came out and did, it's just like, come on,
a,
man. Let's.
a lot of stuff that was back in them Bible days, totally different. Like there's some stories on there
But that's like this.
that
Okay.
makes sense, but it's beyond our comprehension.
Okay, like this. Now, correct me when I'm wrong, because I may be getting it wrong. Adam and Eve were the first people, right?
Right.
Then they had Cain and Abel,
Right.
and then Cain and Abel got married.
No, they had more kids than that.
Okay,
Okay, but listen,
where all the other people in them cities come from?
you got to know, like Genesis talks about some crazy stuff that makes sense but is just beyond our mind. And I think you got to be in a place, and I can tell you right now, but you have to be in a place to really understand the history of what the Bible talks about, the history of what was talked about in the Bible. You got to plan, you got to really understand what the Bible is. And
I that's what I'm saying. I
but
I don't need to take the stories literally, is what I'm
well,
saying.
there is
I just need to take the meaning and the helpfulness behind them. I need to take that aspect more than really, really this dude built a he did this all by himself. Oh, really? Because
and
that's kind of where I'd be going with it. Oh, so he was in the whale
but
mouth for 3 days, right? And then he came out. Really?
you got
Okay.
to remember, people were built back then. Them people were different. Some different people.
Listen,
I don't even know.
ain't nobody going in no whale mouth, Marcus, for
You
three whole.
never know.
Aye,
I mean,
buddy.
you can sit back and we could talk about,
It's a lot.
stuff that happened 60 years ago and be like, wait a minute. Yesterday, tomorrow. I mean, yesterday. We could say, I
Man,
don't know about this.
I ain't heard about nobody going in no whale's mouth for no period of time.
I haven't either. That was some divine stuff then.
I'm just saying, like I say, for me personally, I don't I don't take the Bible literally as far as, oh, this definitely happened.
And with that being said, you may never understand, you may never get the gist of what God is really trying to say to
I
you.
get the gist of the stories. I understand the meanings behind them. I understand the meanings behind the stories. I understand the
Yeah.
meanings behind the
Okay.
words, but I'm not going to say like literally. Because if I start thinking like that, I won't get the understanding. If I start trying to logically say, hey, okay, this guy got swallowed by a whale and was in there for 3 days and he just was in there chilling, no food, no nothing, no water. He was just in this stomach with all this acid swallowed, and he was able to make his way out. The whale didn't move nowhere far. Whales swim very far. None of this. See, when I started getting logically, even with the Adam and Eve. Okay, so you mean to tell me they had all these kids and then they went to other cities where other people was? Where them people come from? Nobody talks about them people.
You and I had that issue too. No, like everybody has that
That
issue.
but and then it's like,
And
okay, how
and
come
then
nobody ever talked? They were the first people here. They were the
let
first
them.
things on here. Why ain't no dinosaurs? Where the dinosaurs at?
Oh, you got to talk about
Nobody talks
well,
about
the
dinosaurs.
dinosaurs. I gotta find the verse. It doesn't say dinosaurs. They talk about behemoths, like big animals. The word dinosaurs came in like the
But
19
there's no like they have
1902 or something
pictures.
like nine,
They
not
have they have pictures of like in scripture they have pictures of all those animals they talk about. None of them look like dinosaurs.
there. You gotta you see. There's a lot of things that haven't been talked about them dinosaurs and when how they found them. I gotta look it up. I did my research, and there's some things that's been kept away from us just to
Hmm.
prove a point. Just
Everything.
to prove
Listen,
a point.
as far as on the level we're at, we're never going to know the truth. That's
Yeah,
just the gist of everything behind everything, what all went into it. Um, so I just had to learn to take the lessons from and and that's what helped me when I stopped looking at the Bible for literal, like logical things. It helped. I understood better. But when I was coming at it from a scientific standpoint of, okay, that don't make sense, it I didn't get the understanding that I needed. You understand? So that's kind of what
yeah.
I had to look at it, and that's where I get into it with a lot of people. They're like, "Oh no, this is the word. This happened." I'm like, "Well, you may think so, but none of us can prove it." At the end of the day, nobody can prove anything that happened in 1800 BC. We can just go based off of faith. That's why they call it faith. Is believing in something without actually knowing what is believing that what this says is what happened. That's what faith is. So I don't have blind faith.
That's good.
I have faith to where, okay, I know based off of my experiences, my ass should be somewhere either in a grave or locked up or in some sort of messed up situation that kept me and most of our family out of harm's way. So I know it's divine intervention. I'm not going to ever question that. And I'm grateful. But I'm also not going to be blind and just follow a religion or a church just because that's what it's supposed to be or that's
And that's and what's funny is God doesn't want you to blindly follow. The Bible talks about him about people wanting, if you want to seek, go find. It talks about not, you don't want to just blindly do things. There is a purpose. And if you want to find answers, you seek them and God will show up. There's a literal verse in the Bible. I forgot what the verse was, but it says, "Seek and you shall find." It's not just a saying, it's in the word. And God doesn't want us to be some just robots. He really he created wisdom. It
right.
and wisdom is needed. Like, okay, let's talk about the stupid mask people. Like, there's some Christians that I ain't wearing no mask. Well, that's not wisdom, dude. Wear your mask when you go out to the stores. Like, you are disregarding the very thing that keeps us going is the wisdom. Like, you're disregarding that. So now you're putting yourself in danger. That's not using the wisdom that you should have. So
Yeah. So yeah, like I say, it's all everybody's. I think it's based off of feeling and how you grew up, and certain things that happen in your life as to what you're gonna choose as far as religion. But like I say, for me, I don't want to. I don't belong to any religion. I'm not a Christian. I'm not Muslim. I'm not anything. I grew up, like I say, Baptist. Went to a Catholic church. So I mean, Catholic, not Catholic church, Catholic school for a couple years, and I think whoever whatever you decide to do, you just need to do it with an open mind and not just jump to follow something. Because I think that's what a lot of people do. They think they lost and they just jump and they blindly follow things.
yeah.
And they become like real radical Christians where they try and point out all your flaws. Oh, you need to be doing this. You should be going to church. Oh, that's not Christian like. That's not Christian like. Well, it may not be Christian like for you, but it may be all right for me.
If you have a Christian, someone who is a Christian who is
You're
saying things like that,
not supposed to judge.
you gotta check them, because, like I said, it's never me. It's never me that I am. When I talk to people about God, I never talk about myself. I never get offended. Like, if somebody gets offended because of me following God, or if I whatever I say, whatever I believe, I that's not your quarrels ain't with me. Your quarrels is with what was
with
what was
yourself.
written, yourself, and you have an issue with seeking and finding. So
Right.
if you don't want to seek, if you don't want to find out why God said this, or why there's a
You
you
shouldn't
know
have a problem with someone else wanting to. Then that
that's
means
what I'm
that's what I'm
saying.
saying. Like I said, I don't have a problem with anybody's choosing their religion. Whatever religion that helps you, I think is good for you if it helps you. But I do not think that, what happens is what a lot of people is a dramatic experience happens in their life, right? And then they just jump on religion. They just blindly follow it. Oh, I'm turning my life over to God, and they don't get an understanding for themselves. So they're basically following someone else's words. And those are the people that always talk about, oh, my pastor this, my pastor this. You giving praise to your pastor. It don't matter what your pastor say. No matter what your pastor say, it came out the Bible, which is not his. It's been around for
Exactly.
centuries. So that's my issue with
Exactly.
the religion aspect of it, is to where people blindly follow without even having their own understanding.
And that is, I totally agree, because like I said, it's never about religion. Jesus went into the, I forgot where it was, but he went and bust he I don't know, it's a story in the Bible where Jesus went and they were selling off like religious things. They were trying to make it, basically they were
Commercialized.
doing yeah, and he went and tore up that place. He tore the place down. And that right there told you that it's never about, a merit based thing. It's about really having a relationship with God, accepting his gift of salvation by saying, "Hey, I died on the cross for your sins. Do you
Now,
accept me?"
but
Yes.
what if
Okay.
people don't believe that he died on the cross? What if like a Hindu or Judaism or
Mhm.
Islam, they don't believe that Jesus died on the cross. So do you feel they're wrong?
I feel
Or
I do feel like well, I got to answer this right, because it's never about me thinking about, a condemnation on them. I do feel like if you don't accept Christ, then you just don't get in. I mean, okay, would you accept if you weren't accepted to a party, but you showed up anyway? Hey, you didn't want to come. If you RSVP'd for a party, come on in. But if you didn't, if you were invited and you were like, man, forget that party, and then at the last minute you were like, I want to go, you didn't want to come in, so nah, you stay out there. Boop, close the door.
but that's not Christianity though. If at the last minute you decide you want to go, can't and don't God accept you? If at the
If
last
you
second you
if
accept Christ,
in this life, if you're on your deathbed and you say, I give my life to Christ, I do believe in the word, and I do believe in the resurrection, he gonna accept you. That's the grace of God.
so you can kill a bunch of babies and murder and rape a bunch of women, and on your deathbed in your heart, if you give your life to Christ, he's going to forgive you.
Yes,
You agree with that?
I do agree with that, because it's
That's
always
interesting.
about
I do not
it's
agree with that.
and it's always about the grace. See what we do on here
That's like
on
this. Okay, let me give you another answer.
okay.
Another instance. So you believe that you working, right? You working in hired all your you working hard. You paying all your bills. You working hard. You working hard.
Mm-hmm,
Yet this person over here ain't doing nothing. His
mm-hmm,
whole life ain't doing
mm-hmm.
shit, but it's robbing and stealing, robbing
Yeah.
and stealing, robbing and stealing, robbing and stealing, robbing and
Yeah.
stealing. At the last second, he come to your house and he want to come in. You gonna let him in? If you know that all his life he been robbing and stealing the whole time, he's been selfish his whole life. He's been robbed and stealed and killed his whole life. You letting him in your house?
No, if it's just straight up like that, nah.
But he's come to a realization he don't want to do that no more. He's changed.
Prove it.
Exactly. So
You're
that's
okay.
that,
You're
that's
done.
that's why I have an issue with you being on your deathbed. You've been doing bullshit your whole life, and you get to
But
get into
then,
heaven.
okay, good. That's right. Now check your heart. Is that person really being heartfelt? God knows. But if are you being true to accepting Christ? Is it
when
really
you
in
when
your
you on
heart?
your
Is it
when you on your death
ingrained in
when
your
you
heart?
in when you on your deathbed and
Uh-huh.
you scared and that fear it will ingrain in your heart. You'll start having remorse and all that, but I don't believe that you can do a lifetime of bad or even a more bad than good, and then at the last second just be like, okay, I'm please forgive me, let me in. I'm not
But
letting you in.
that's all, and that's us as humans. Because me, I feel the same way as you. Me personally,
But that's why I can't get with something that allows that.
but you gotta understand, you ain't God. You a human being with flaws.
Exactly. So that's what that's I can't get with a religion that believes that, that believes that at the last second someone who's been has a lifetime of evil can just go to heaven after committing all that sin for a
If
lifetime. I'm
you,
not talking about people that make mistakes because we sin all the time.
of course, yeah, yeah.
I'm talking about people that do evil and devious shit. Just been a lifetime of evil.
And you
And
gotta, but you gotta understand, if you're doing a lifetime of evil, let's just take it in a literal sense. If you're doing a lifetime of evil and all of a sudden you want, oh, I'm scared, oh, I may be going to hell, or I'm not gonna get into heaven, oh Lord, I'm sorry. That's not true. That's not heartfelt.
but what if you had an epiphany? You were sitting there dying and you thinking about your life and tears come out your eyes and you sorry for all the murdering that you did, all the just downright blasphemous things that you have done in your life. You are wholeheartedly sorry. I don't believe you should go to heaven.
Of course. You don't believe that because you're a human damn being.
Yeah,
Me, and look, I can say, I can sit up here and say the same thing because what, that is just horrific, bro.
but
Let's
it's not for us to judge. That's the thing.
it ain't for us to even judge that. But that's between him and God. That ain't between you, him, and God. It's all about their relationship. You don't. That's why I don't get offended by people because it's not. It's about me. If you bash Christ, I'm just like, hey,
Yeah, I'm
don't.
not going.
I'm
Like I
not
said, I'm not
bashing.
going to bash it.
No, I know that. I'm just saying in general. I know you
Oh,
ain't
okay.
doing
Yeah.
it. Yep.
Shout out to the Jasper Parish Projects, man.
They listening right now, man.
Yeah, all the people in Jasper listening. I love y'all. Jasper for life. Shout out to all my peoples in Lakeview Projects, baby. I love y'all too. LVP for life.